or most of the delegates spoke about it. However, we still lack the definition of terrorism, and thus it is used conveniently, labeling things terrorists here, and other terrorist actions could not be labeled as terrorist. Also, we see that some countries are still equipping, financing, and helping abetting terrorists in order to carry out attacks in other countries. Do you believe that there should be some kind of discussion about to renew this momentum and speak exactly and label who is terrorist, who is not terrorist, to how what categories can be labeled as terrorists? The definition should be revisited, I believe. What do you think?
Well, I think that this is not a new definition of terrorism. Has always been different from time immemorial. If you recall, the late President Mandela, until a few years to his death, he was on the list of terrorists. Well, I think Mandela was not a terrorist. I think he was a freedom fighter. So you'll continue having different people defining terrorism differently. But there is terrorism, which I believe is wanton killing of unarmed people. Why would you kill women and children and not combatants? If you want to fight even for freedom, fight combatants. But why would you target innocent, unarmed people, like children, like women? Like, I think this is terrorism. Then there's the terrorist ideology itself, the ideology of killing and beheading and bombing, and I think that's the type of terrorism I'm talking about, and I think everybody agrees on to that. What was clear in this General Assembly is that everybody who talked against terrorism talked about having a unified approach towards fighting them. And I think that came through often, that we should correlate our activities in fighting, whether it is ISIS, whether it is Al-Shabaab, whether it is Al-Qaeda, whether it is Boko Haram. Everybody was saying these are faces of the same problem, and we should have a unified approach in fighting.
Sorry, just a follow-up on that. According to your definition here, what happened in Gaza recently, targeting whole families, killing hundreds of children, whole tower blocks were demolished, is also an act of terrorism, isn't it?
I think that what happened in the Gaza is obviously terrible when you watch children being targeted. We need evidence. Yesterday, it is true that the Israelis were bombing these targets, but also there was a claim that the rocket launches were being launched, people were being used as human shield, and this brings in a contest. Who is actually carrying the terrorist act? Yes, it is wrong to kill civilians, and I think civilians should never be killed, particularly women. But it is also equally wrong to use them as human shield. So I don't know. You will define terrorism from whichever angle you look at it. But I think the killing of civilians is unacceptable. Women and children, all of us don't accept that.